Hi everyone, this is Marilyn at Breezy Acres Garden Center on Route 105. And we are going over some seed starting in the garden, in garden boxes, things that you can do early in the season, and some tips and little tricks to help you with your seeding. We're going to be doing carrots in a raised garden bed today. We have a 4x8 garden bed, 12 inches tall. And in this box, you can do at least 4 rows of carrots in here. I'm going to go through making a furrow, putting the seeds in, and how thick they should be. Okay, we're going to get started. You can either use a hand garden tool to help make your furrow or your fingers. Just start in your soil. For carrots, your furrow does not have to be very deep. It just needs to be on a straight line. Okay. And you can go all the way down to the end of the box. So our little tip that we're going to use today, we're going to take some really thin toilet tissue and we're going to put it in our furrow. Weight it down with a little bit of dirt on the edges. Oops. To kind of keep it in there. We'll start a little at a time. So this little trick is just so you can see your carrot seeds, because your carrot seeds are very small and sometimes you will seed them too thick and then you have to pull some out, which a lot of people do, but I find it's a little wasteful, especially if you're trying to do a lot of seeding in the garden. So we're going to start here where there isn't any soil, and you can kind of just sprinkle your seed in. So you can see how we sprinkled the seed onto the tissue. They're not too thick. They're a good distance apart. If you feel that you bunched them, you can kind of move them around a little bit. And then when you're done, we're just going to bury this in so that it doesn't blow around when we're trying to plant the rest of our row. Right? So we got a little bit of seed, a little bit of soil on here, and just pack that down. This toilet tissue will dissolve when you water or it rains. Okay, we're just going to finish the rest of our row here. If you want them nice and thick, you can do that, but then you'll get smaller carrots or fewer good carrots, so we don't want it thick. I'll bury that down. And with carrot seeds being so tiny, they do not have to be super deep in the soil. The smaller the seed, the more shallow you can bury it. I'm just going to take a little bit more of our tissue and we'll continue in our furrow. So when you are done planting your row and burying your seed, always try to remember to mark your rows so you don't forget where you've planted something. And you put your little marker at the end of your row. You can either do every row or just know this whole box is carrots, don't put anything else in it. So we just finished marking and planting our carrots. These are one type of vegetable plant that you can plant early in the season because it is a root crop. There are many other varieties that you can plant early. We have lettuce. You can either do seeds or plants. They're cold tolerant, but will not handle a heavy, hard frost. So just keep in mind that you may need to protect those for plants. Also, any of the brassica families such as kale, cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, those can be planted also a little bit earlier. They are cold weather tolerant. Just protect from heavy frost and cold wind. Other early planting seeds, you can do your onion sets. We've got some white and some red. Those can go in the ground. We're going to show you how to plant those in just a moment. Other root crops that you can put in. We've got beets. You can do parsnips. Some people plant early potatoes also, but that depends if your ground is really wet. You might want to wait for it to warm up and dry out a bit. Other greens that you can plant early, we have spinach seeds. You can do arugula, and beets for beet greens, you can do those also. Peas are a wonderful early season crop you can plant. You're just going to need to figure out where you're going to put it in your garden so that you can have a fence for them to climb, because there are only a few short varieties, but the rest are going to be tall climbers, and the fence is going to provide you with easier picking once your vegetable is ready. What we're working on right now, we're going to be planting our onion sets, knowing we can plant them a little bit early, making sure our soil is not heavy, wet, and soggy, or your onion sets will rot. So the raised beds are great because they have good drainage, and you can plant early in the season. So when planting your onion sets, if you are doing a raised box, you can come away from the edge of your box, about that. Take your onion set, make sure you're putting the root, the little hairy where the roots are going to come off, put that down into the ground with this little tip pointed up. And you can push down, and that's it. You don't even really have to bury, because once you water, your soil will move and water in. And putting them how far apart all depends on if you're going to pull them for green tails or keep them in for large onions. So if you're going to grow the red onion sets for larger onions, plant them about 3 to 4 inches apart, so that your onion has room to grow and get bigger. Now, onion sets, some don't get extremely large. Onion plants themselves are better for a bigger sweet onion. So we're going to just make a couple of rows with these red onions to get a little bit bigger. You can plant them a little bit closer if you want, but I want mine to get big, so I'm going to plant them a little bit farther apart. I'm just going to plant a couple more, and then we'll have our white onion sets. Now, my white onion sets, I usually plant them more for green tails, and I put them close together, because once you pull one for your green tail, that's going to be it. That onion is done. You can also, once it's grown and your green tail gets, as large as you want it to for a nice salad, you can cut that green tail and another will grow, keeping the onion in the ground. I'm just doing green tails, so I'm going to put mine fairly close together, because I'm going to pick as soon as it comes ready, because I love them fresh in my salad. Okay, so this gets you a lot more onion per area in your box. Oops, there's something in there. Piece of manure. We'll finish up our row. There we go. So if you're picking for green tails, and let's say you want to keep some of these the onion sets in the ground for larger onions, when your onion set is ready, you can pluck every other one, and that will give room for another to get bigger, as a bigger slicing onion. So other types of onions that you can plant early are onion plants. I chose some white ones. I'll also plant red. Now these, when you get ready to plant, just pull them out of your pot. You can roll them and pull them apart gently. If your soil is dry, moisten it down. That way they'll pull apart easier and not damage the roots as much as if they were dry. So here you have your onion plant with your roots. And these are a nice large sweet onion. So you're going to dig a hole to get these roots in, and then you want to come up the greenery just a little bit. Pack it down, and that holds your plant upright and steady so it doesn't flip and flop. So these onions are going to hopefully get fairly large, okay? So I am going to plant my next one 4 to 6 inches away. You should be getting good sized onions by mid-July, and you can harvest as you need, or you can leave them in the ground, not right straight through till fall, but you can leave them in to get larger. Now when you crop these larger onions, you'll see that the greenery, I'm going to say, goes by, but these are going to be fallen over, and they're going to be, you don't want them to be mushy, you just want them to be on the drier side. When they're on the drier side, that's when you know you should pull those onions. You don't want this to get mushy, because then your onion will start to spoil. Now through the growing season for these larger onions, keep them moist. You can fertilize also. You can either make a furrow alongside your onion crop. You can either sprinkle a granular in that furrow and then cover it back up and water it in. A lot of people also utilize the water dissolvable fertilizer, and that's just as easy. You can put it in a watering can and water on top. So we're going to move on to planting our cold hardy plants. Right here we have Fast Vantage cabbage. I'm taking the tag and I'm putting it right in the beginning of my box, right at the beginning of my row. So carefully take your plants out of the 6-pack. If they're really, really rooted, you can kind of break them up a little bit, okay? And then you're gonna I'm gonna come away from the edge of my box, because this guy's gonna hopefully get fairly big, take up a lot of room. So just make a hole deep enough to encompass your root ball. I put it a little bit too deep. And when you're planting, and then you're gonna pack the soil. Okay. Some people, we put compost in all of our boxes already, so I'm not going to add any extra fertilizer right now. But during the summer, you can also make a little, like we did with our onions, you can make a little furrow, sprinkle granular fertilizer around, and then cover that up. Or again, you can fertilize with the water dissolvable right on top. So our next plant, a lot of the instruction is right on your tag also of how far apart. This one does not say. It has the maturity day and how large the cabbage is going to get. So knowing that our cabbage plants are going to get about this large, the leaves and everything, we want to space our plants far enough apart so they all have room to grow. So if we're thinking one plant's going to end here and another one maybe start, this is about 18 inches apart. If you have a smaller space, you can go a little bit closer together, but then your leaves are going to be crowding. And there you are. You can make a patch in your whole box and do the same distance apart. I would probably get 2 to 3 plants across and about 4 to 6 plants long in the 4x8 box. Now, while these plants are growing and getting bigger, you can do some intercropping. With your onions, you can put onions in and around. That'll help keep some insects away also. So you could put onions in here if you're doing green tails. You could plant. You can also do maybe a little bit of lettuce in between the rows. You can make a little furrow. It's just whatever you can grow that's going to be quick while your bigger plants are growing. And you can do some intercropping. To summarize what we've done already this morning for early grown vegetable crops, we have our root crops, carrots, beets, parsnips. We did a little example on how they were seeded and the thickness of them. And then we have some early season plants such as the brassicas. That's going to be cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kales. Those can all be planted early. Just protect from cold wind and heavy frost.